Hey family, and welcome back or welcome to my channel at Woman's Heart Podcast, your go-to destination for exploring faith, inspiration, health, and personal growth. Whether you're a mental health professional, caregiver, or simply someone looking to improve your own well-being, I believe today's conversation you will find value in it. So join us as we break down the complex issues, share practical tips, and inspire you to live a more fulfilled life. Stay tuned so you can be enlightened and get your blessing. Hi, and welcome back to Woman's Heart, a wellness podcast where we explore faith, inspiration, health, and personal growth. I am so excited that you're joining me for another empowering message because today I'm thrilled to have on the show with us Miss Cassandra Francis. Now, Cassandra's journey began as a professional dancer, then as a psychotherapist assistant at Sunnybrook Hospital. This experience really sparked a passion for her understanding of the mind and body connection and how it impacts overall well-being. So for over a decade, Cassandra has dedicated herself to providing passionate care to individual couples, groups, and navigating diverse mental health challenges, which is a blessing. Thank you for what you do, Cassandra. Now, she is also has a unique background that informs her holistic approach to mental health. So beyond that, which I love, these other little tidbits you gave me, was that you founded the One Piece Therapy, a practice that extends support for mental and physical health needs. And you also offer virtual and in-person therapy in Toronto, catering especially to the BIPOC community, welcoming everyone, but specifically catering to the BIPOC community. So think of me as your chief encouragement officer, preparing you for an insightful conversation on navigating common challenges like anxiety, depression, and life transitions. And we'll also explore the power of mindfulness and fostering a sense of peace within yourself in the community. Welcome to the show, Cassandra.
Thank you, Edna. Wow, what a wholesome introduction. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. We are so excited you're here with us today, and we're looking forward to diving into where you came from, who you are, and what gets you up in the morning. So why don't we jump right on in? Why don't you tell us and share with the audience who you are and what makes you get up in the morning?
Yes. Well, honestly, you summarized a lot of points about who I am. So the nitty-gritty we can tap into.
Yes.
I am truly honored to be here. I am humbled to speak to your viewers, your listeners. Um, what helps me get up in the morning? I would say it's knowing that I am aligned with the mission that God has ordained for me.
Mm.
Like it's to be in this position as the founder is it's mind blowing. Like there's only certain forces that can describe how I inspire, right? I know like it's an oxymoron to say like I'm stressed, yet I wake up stressed, to be honest. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to do. But what really gets me out of my bed, what really gets me going, is the peace and joy that I have and knowing that I am shining in his glory, right? Like I don't mean to get too faith-based, but honestly what gets me
This is
going
all
is
about faith-based, Cassandra.
okay, so
That's who I am, my core. So anytime you
yeah.
bring that and sprinkle that in, yes.
Yes, okay. That's what I thought too, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just give space to multiple answers. But that's my
So
answer.
give us the answer, the faith-based answer, because that
Yeah.
you got to know at some point in your life, God ordained and directed you to go there because
Absolutely.
that's not an easy path, right?
It's not at all. At all. And there's many times where I even challenge, like, am I in the right place? Right. I know it's common for therapists to question, like, am I doing this right? Am I supposed to be here? But like deeply, I've asked myself, like, I'm supporting people through life. Right. I'm
Right.
still
This is the
experiencing my
lifeline.
own
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
you know?
We
So
appreciate it
it's
because
humbling. It's humbling. And
we need more women like you, women of color too, because there's a struggle. I'm sure you know this, that with people of color struggle with whether they should go see a therapist or whatever. I think it's opening up more now because a lot of
yes.
people they're starting to talk about it. But years ago, as an
Yes.
infant, let's go see someone because that doesn't make you crazy. That just makes you want to get balance and find peace,
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
that it's a lot of stigmas attached to it.
Exactly. And even as you mentioned already in the beautiful introduction, I have over 10 years, over 12 years now
Right.
in the mental health and psychotherapy field,
Mhm.
right? And I've noticed the developments within the Black community, right? Or
Mhm.
people of color in general of how they're stepping away and challenging the
Mhm.
stigma of mental health. Like it doesn't have to be psychosis. It doesn't
Right.
have to be mental disorder, but it's the mental health of how do I understand the path I'm on,
Mhm.
right? How do I deal with grief, stress, anxiety, depression, life transitions? Like that's life, right? Everybody's going through life as long as we're drawing breath.
Right. I love that. So a lot of what you do, like I work with women in life transitions, but from a coaching perspective. So
Right.
when I found, and I think might have shared this with you before when we met, that from as a mindset coach and confidence coach, what I find is a lot of the clients that I have worked with in the past have had a therapist, which is basically bridging the gap. You have a therapist that's
Right.
helping you basically work through your past, and now you have a coach who's helping you work in the present and into the future. So it bridges the
Right.
gap. So it
Right.
fits very well. What I found that having both, and the client just does amazing. Just from
Yeah.
going from the therapist to the coach, and then being able to cycle back and continue that process.
Yes, that is a great point, Edna, because as much as yes, with therapists, we do talk about the past, we do unpack, we do process,
Mhm.
and we integrate into the now,
Mhm.
right? The being specifically present focused and future oriented, that is a coach job because they're willing, you're
Mhm.
willing to walk with them,
Right.
right? Therapists are like, listen, I can only walk with you in the space,
So far. Right. I
right?
can hand you, it's almost like handing over the baton where now, because it's accountability and coaches
Yeah.
help with that piece, that accountability. Are you doing what you said you were going to do? Did you write in your journal?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, there is the complementary service indeed. And there's even overlap, but the overlap is beautiful in a holistic way,
mm,
right? Like having a therapist, having a coach, it blends in that you're focusing on your life, right? You're navigating your life. The one that God has ordained for you, you're trying to figure out in the flesh, right? So I think it's so important to just have multiple people on your team
yeah,
so
your
that you
support
can
system.
achieve,
Yeah.
yeah, your support system.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so good. So, and well, thank you for your answer about who you are and what makes you get up in the morning. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to this place. Like, how did
Yeah.
you even get that in you? This was it in you early on, or just something as I told a little bit about your bio. I know you worked in a location that kind of sparked that. So, what happened prior to that? How did you even get in that location?
Yes. So as you said, I dancing is my passion.
Mhm.
Like it still is. I have not let go of dancing.
That's good.
Um, yeah, that it's I cannot.
I love that.
I
I mean,
cannot.
we all need something like that, right? We need something we can hold on to.
Yes, yes. So I was a professional dancer in my childhood.
Mhm.
So we perform. I wasn't competitive or anything, but we performed. So I did like contemporary, I did West African, I did step, I did hip hop,
I love that.
I did Caribbean, which is my background. I am Jamaican. So I just love rhythm and movement, and I got to travel. So I also love traveling.
Which is a
Um,
blessing. I mean, you got to do all of
mhm.
that through your passion.
Yeah, exactly, right. And got paid for it, Edna. So
Mhm.
it
That's
was
when you get paid for your passion, that's a bonus.
it's a bonus. It's a bonus. So I
Mm,
was loving it. I was loving it. That's actually what I wanted to do, like for lifelong, is to
yeah,
be a
yeah,
professional dancer.
yeah.
But with my background, it came to the point where my parents are like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Hmm.
Right. And I'm thinking, I'm already doing this. Like, I want to be a professional dancer.
Right, right.
Right. But they're like, that's not going to pay the bills. That's not going to pay the bills. So you're going to have a family, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay. Yeah, of course, I was devastated. So let me just also give a disclaimer. What I'm sharing is the neatly summed package. There was a lot of turmoil that I had to go through.
I'm sure, like it's a whole transition of
It's a whole
what
transition.
is happening right now. I thought I was on this path, and now things are shifting. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
headspace, right?
And
Hmm.
things are shifting because my parents initiated it, not because I'm like, what, dance is not for me. It's like, oh, well, now I have to consider what my parents are saying. They live the life. I'm sure they know what pays the bills,
Right, right, right.
right? So I tapped into, okay, what are my options? And
Mhm.
something that remained important for me was still being active, right?
Right.
Like I still wanted to use my body. I still wanted to, yeah, be active. Like I like the fitness that came with dance, of course. That helps with health. Um, which is what also made me consider the health field. So I got into physiotherapy as well. So that is kind of what sparked my interest. I'm like, okay, what uses the body, something I can see myself doing. Tapped into physiotherapy. So I was in the hospital for Sunnybrook Hospital, as you mentioned, for
Mhm.
maybe like 8 months.
Okay.
So it wasn't too long, but it was enough for me to understand that's not what I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah, I loved supporting clients. So that space facilitated, building connection with clients,
Mhm.
following up with their progress,
Right.
having conversations about how to understand the transition of, post surgery. You can't do the same things you did before. Your body is not working the same. You're feeling out of control of your own self, right? Like that nuance became so fascinating to me of just the process of supporting, of healing, of progress. It was much more than just, okay, here's the exercise for your elbow. Here's the exercise for your hip. It was like, let's talk about the fact that it is harder to get up in the morning and that being a real thing, right?
Mhm.
So I was fascinated by psychology. I'm like, wow, the mind
Mhm.
is powerful. Like mental health is powerful. Um, and that made me tap into it,
Mhm.
right? So I did a lot of education around psychotherapy, mental health, psychology, and that anyone that has the background in this field, they would know how much it just really causes you to be self-reflective.
Mm.
Right. So it's a good and bad thing, honestly, because unguided self-reflection can just
You
put you
could
in
be
a
all over
rabbit hole
the right.
all over the place. You're like, what? Like, I don't even, what's my name?
Well, hey, what am I doing right now? Oh, yeah, you
What am
start
I
questioning
doing?
stuff. So, but you
Start
need the
questioning
guidance.
everything. Yeah, like, is this symptom that? Is this?
Right.
So, but it did give me space to think about my mental health. And
That's good.
that really enabled me to also be on a personal journey while I was on my professional journey. So it was powerful. It was very powerful. I started to go into at the time I had different familial
Mhm.
concerns going on. So I wanted to find a therapist that looked like me,
Right.
right? I didn't, especially back then, there was a lot of, non-BIPOC
Right.
people
Right. Right.
that predominantly took up the psychotherapy field.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what I'm talking about is cultural, right? I
It
get
is.
the techniques and the studies and everything, it's useful, but it's the relationship that helps break the ice for accessing the space, right?
I think too
Um,
for me as a black one to be able to, and it would be gender to gender for me as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
me as a Black woman looking for someone that looks like me, because I think it's the relatability, understand, like
yeah,
you can start to talk about an activity or something that might have happened on the job, whatever.
right.
And then you're trying to share that with a white male or white female. That could be, will they understand it from your perspective?
Exactly.
Probably not, because they could see,
Right.
they can be empathetic, but they can't
Right.
like feel what you feel. Like another Black
Exactly.
woman could understand it because she might have went through the same experience. So now I'm not talking
Exactly.
about trauma bonding. I'm really talking
Right.
about like
Exactly. That's
understanding
the
there.
disclaimer. That's a very good, it's completely different.
Right.
It's completely different, especially in therapy. It's such a vulnerable space. So you want to feel understood. You want to
Mm,
feel seen and not judged, right? And
right.
someone that is white or outside of your culture in
Right.
general, right? They can implicitly judge you because they just like they don't understand what you're saying. But talking to
Gone through it.
another black,
Mhm.
yeah, another black person, you're just like, yes. You don't even have to finish the sentence. You're like, you know what? Let's just go deeper. We already know where we're
Your
at.
eyes connect and you go, yeah. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
I
I've
know what you're
done
talking
that or got
about.
the t-shirt, right? So know that, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, we can talk more about the depth, right? And less about the symptoms. And I
Yeah.
find that to be such a beautiful space to hold
Yeah.
for people, like there's peace in just let's just listen to your story, right? Even if you're not talking about something peaceful, it's the fact that you can speak to someone that can understand without, okay, now I have to explain, then process, then unpack, then I got to learn how to cope.
Right. And then now you got that, and then you walk out of there thinking, if depending on who the person is, again, person that looks like you or doesn't look like you walk out of there thinking what the person don't look like you. Are they judging me?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I
exactly.
shared some things, should have. You don't want to go out of there thinking,
Exactly.
questioning it.
Yeah, you want to leave feeling motivated, like,
Exactly.
okay,
Not
pretty
worse than when you
soon.
went in. Right.
Not worse than when you went in. So it was hard for me to find that. It
Mm,
was hard for me to find that. To
yeah.
be very honest, my initial journey in psychology was to be a psychiatrist, right? Like the doctor, you prescribe meds, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then I realized I'm like, no, it's too far from building a relationship, which is what ignited this passion for
Yeah.
me, right? So I wanted to represent what I didn't have the option of. And it's been such a beautiful is an understatement. And I'm blessed I'm humbled to be in the presence of, hearing people's stories, and a lot of it they haven't even confronted themselves. So this is like, it's so organic, it's so raw, it's so
Yeah.
vulnerable. And as much as I love dance,
Mhm.
being where I'm at now is a different type of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like
It's filling I think sometimes and I know for me, Cassandra, it's filling up several buckets, right? You have
Mm.
this thing that God has given you that you're passionate about, which is dance. But then you have this other thing that God has also given you, which is
Yeah,
you're passionate about, and you're helping others, ushering people from a dark place into a lighter space, right? In
right.
their spirit and in their head. And so
Yeah.
God is using both, I think, to be able to speak through you to the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really that's where his glory comes in, because when I
Mm,
think about, there's times that clients will tell me things and I understand what they're saying, but I haven't gone through it.
right.
Right. But then I just say the right thing and I'm like, that's God.
Yeah, he
Because
just comes out. Yeah, I'm sure
it
it's just
just
like
comes
they just
out. I'm like,
need
I
that.
didn't even,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, I
Yeah.
said that. Like in my own head, I'm like, I said that. But
It
then
just
it's
came
like,
out good.
I'm just here being a vessel, honestly. He's speaking through me in those moments where I'm just like, whoa, what can I even say in this moment to give this person something, right?
I
Then
think
God
a
just
lot of
drops.
times too, from a coaching perspective, the women that I work with, and I work with some men too, they just need a cold cup of water. And that comes
Mhm.
right out of the word,
Yeah.
the woman at the well met Jesus and gave him a cold cup of water, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes we just need a refreshing. We need to be plugged
Yeah.
in. We need to get that feeling valued, seen and heard feeling of someone really cares. Not that your family doesn't, not that the people around you don't. It's just that sometimes you need to know that you can go to that person and share that thing and, be
Exactly.
able to say, I feel refreshed when I leave.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And even to honor, other clients that I've experienced too, like sometimes they'll come into therapy
Mhm.
just to acknowledge the blessings that God has provided to them.
I like that.
Right.
That's a blessing. That's
Yes.
like faith work, right? It's in, and I have a whole coaching program called the Weekly Faith Project, right? And
Mm.
I recognize that God is definitely using me in that space to be able to share the journal prompts and be able to share the weekly videos that I send out on a weekly basis to my coaching clients. And they absolutely are tied into that. It's like they're looking for it on a weekly basis so they can journal and they can feel when we meet that once a month that they can connect and share about the blessings. And so I understand what you mean. And it feels so good. It's almost like you have
Yes.
facilitation there. It's like you help facilitate bringing that to the forefront.
Exactly, exactly. The gratitude, right? I guess
Right.
that's, to some it's gratitude, to others it's testimonies, right? But
Yeah.
some people
Yeah.
they just need a space to speak about the good in their
Testify.
life, right? Yes, because outside of this relationship, they're like, well, everybody else, they're already going through a whole bunch of other stuff that they can't,
Right.
they can't hold space for that, or they don't trust anybody to have their good intentions to hold space for that. I'm like, listen, I'm willing to applaud, I'm willing to push, whatever you need me
Whatever that
for,
looks like, right?
whatever that looks like I'm here for it. So it's been such a dynamic, refreshing journey, honestly.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. I love that you have found, and even though it was a process, I know it was. I mean, we're talking
Oh,
about it, but I know
definitely.
you've been through the process of making sure, am I on the right path, Lord? I think we all kind of go through that. But when the type of work that you're doing, like it's so deep embedded in what we need as a
Mhm.
people, because your main focus is BIPOC, but I know you work with
Yes.
everyone, but we need
Right.
that. And so I thank
Absolutely.
you again. Having
Yes.
that. So with that mind-body connection, just a little
Yes.
bit there, your background highlights the importance of the mind-body connection. So how do
Yes.
you incorporate in this understanding into your therapeutic approach? How do you use that?
Yes. So of course I integrate both lived and, learned
Yeah.
experiences into my work. Definitely the mind body, that's how it started, right? Physiotherapy and in psychology. It's like as much as the mind and the body work separately, they work together
Right.
and in harmony when we allow that alignment,
Mhm.
right? But then it became a thing of also considering spirit, right? The more I deepen my own faith journey, I'm like, the spirit is definitely in the room, right? Like we
I
we
love
we
that.
have
So
to acknowledge.
and for you to
Yeah.
be open to that too, because some therapists are not. They don't use a faith-based
Mm,
approach.
yes. I use what is needed.
Yeah.
Like I know that God is speaking through me, but how the client receives it is how they need to receive it,
Right.
right?
That's good.
Um, yeah, so there's a lot to integrate. And just understanding that, we're more than our symptoms.
Mm.
Right? Where yes, we have our bodies, we have our thoughts, our emotions, experiences, right? And we are the sum of all these, but I think it's important that I don't isolate. Okay, let's just talk about the migraines,
Right.
right? Or let's just talk about the anxiety. Like, no, let's say how they go hand in hand,
Right.
right? Especially I've noticed in the Black community, um, we and women in particular too, they experience a lot of psychosomatic symptoms,
Mm.
right? Like you can be let's say you're going through a stressful moment at work, right? And then what ignites is your stomach aches, right? You have some gastrointestinal concerns.
Right.
So then because of the stigma, we're often focused on our physical health of, oh, I got to get my stomach checked, right? Something's not right with my stomach. I'm not eating right. Things are uncomfortable.
Right.
But that's what gets checked first,
Mhm.
forgetting that our mind is still connected to our body,
Right.
right? If we deal with the stress that's in our mind, it can take away what is going on in the stomach,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, or it can exacerbate it.
Yeah.
If it's not dealt with, it could be chronic and there is actually something wrong there that you have to deal with, right? So it's understanding how they work hand in hand, but also how they work separately. Um, in that way of supporting individuals, I do use a holistic approach. So of course, that's again what I'm explaining,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
including all parts of someone and integrating it into who they are. Um, Humanistic as well, right? Just being human,
Mm-hmm.
right? Understanding the different aspects of just the human experience. Not everything is theoretical. Some things are just cultural,
Yeah.
right? We don't
Yeah.
need a study for that. We
Yeah.
just
Yes.
we just know, right?
Right.
Of
Just
course I use somatic work as well when appropriate. I do not enter welcome movement
mm-hmm.
in sessions, and in this way it's trauma informed, right? A lot of things become stuck in our body, again being psychosomatic or physical impact on the body that the body remembers.
Mm-hmm.
So using different modalities, different techniques that help unstuck what was stuck,
Right.
right?
And that's that
uh
also triggering, where you
yeah
wonder, you have a traumatic event. This is just me. I'm not a psychotherapist or anything like that, Cassandra,
yes
but I think from the perspective of having something that happened to you in your childhood that was maybe traumatic or along the way as a young adult or whatever. And something can be very triggering, like even when you're at work, someone says something or does something, and now you're triggered.
right
And all of that it's caught in the body.
yes
It's
yes it
like,
is
how do you even stop from being triggered, right? From
yeah
hearing that thing or seeing that thing or smelling something or whatever that triggers it.
yes, and that's a good question that a lot of clients ask too, is like, how do I stop a trigger from happening?
Right,
I'm
right.
just like, that's not even our goal.
Mhm.
That's not, it's not. Anyone that's thinking of that, I'm sorry, it's not.
Right,
It's not the goal. The goal is to regulate the trigger so
right.
it doesn't overtake you, it doesn't consume you in that moment that it happens,
Exactly.
right? Because we can't control these external forces, but we can control what is happening in our mind and body and spirit,
That's what
right?
I call,
So
and you probably do this as well, emotional regulation. Just being able to,
absolutely.
yeah, be able to
Yes.
manage that
Yes.
because it's definitely something you have to manage. But I love that. I love that you have kind of evolved and you still stay grounded in your faith and
Yeah.
using, whatever God needs you to use at that time for that particular client, whatever he's gonna do, he's gonna work
Absolutely.
through you. I love that. So with the
Yeah.
BIPOC community though, and that focus you have on the BIPOC community, you really
Yes.
mentioned that with your one piece therapy, it really caters to BIPOC community. So can you
Yeah.
discuss the importance of the cultural sensitivity therapy and how you address the unique needs of our population?
Yes. And to confirm for the listeners as well, like BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color,
Mhm, mhm.
just in case. But it's everything. It's honestly, it's everything. Like understanding how our cultures really do shape our worlds,
Right,
right? And our world views, whether it's the culture we grew up in or it's the culture that we identify, right? Which are two separate things.
right.
But culture shapes how we interact with people, how we understand what we do in our internal experience, right?
Mhm.
So I find it's unique because as we already started by saying, like sometimes there's just a look, right? You could be talking about, I don't know, let's say your boss, for example, and we could be like, um, I'm putting my own stuff on the spot. I don't even an
Okay.
example's not coming. But it's just one of those things like someone has the audacity to say something, right? We're not saying it's the audacity. We're just saying they said that's what your hair looks like today. And you're like,
Right.
like there's a look, right? So it's understanding the look. It's understanding the lingo that we
Mm-hmm.
use, right? Expressions on our face. Like, oh, I love our people. Okay. The expressions can provide a comedic relief sometimes,
Really, I know, especially with Black women. Don't get me started. Like we just know. I mean, I had Dr. Daniels was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she said
Yeah.
we just have that connection. We may not even know each other. We just it's a connection.
You just,
No,
yes.
I don't want to
It's a
say, how do you know her? Well, I don't know her. It's just that we know.
we,
Our ancestors coming through. That's what she said. She said we know each
yes.
other. We connect all the time.
All the time. Oh, and it's beautiful to have that connection that it's so free, right? You
Right.
don't have to know someone for too long to be able to express yourself that
Exactly.
way, right? But in the workforce or in other environments where it's just you have to hide your facial expression. So
Code
that
switching. You code switching. You know,
code switching,
yeah, you get
exactly.
into that whole headspace. That's a whole nother podcast.
It is a whole, yeah, you know what? Let me just go back to your question. So
Yeah. No, but
um,
we'll after the podcast show, we'll talk about code switching.
yes, yes, it's definitely a real thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, just understanding, the norms,
Mhm.
what is normal, right? Because some things are just cultural
Yeah,
and not like Western society of okay, what their standard of normal is. So
right.
understanding the norms, um, even how to handle parents
Mhm.
as well. Like sometimes we can't say, well, don't talk to them no more. It's like, mm-mm. There's more
Yeah, yeah.
consequences.
You're gonna have to go deeper than that. That's the easy route out, right? Like
Right.
the hard route is to work through it. That's
Exactly.
talk to them and learn how to, learn how to engage.
Yes, yes. So there's so much pieces that honestly, and even the interventions that
Yeah.
are more likely to be receptive, right? To know, okay, this is more aligned because of how I understand the culture than me saying something that is like that has nothing to do with what's going to help me, right? So honestly, supporting BIPOC population is that's what keeps me going because I
Mhm.
can also be myself,
Right.
right? Because
Exactly. Yeah.
if I can't be myself, this is a quick burnout field, right? Let me just have that disclaimer
Yeah. No,
that if
I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's so likely, right? So you need to like balance self and professional and all the other different hats that I wear, but it's so special to support the BIPOC community because it's authentic. Right?
Yeah. Again, thank you again for the work that you do and how you serve in the community of BIPOC people because we need it. We need it.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's just switch gears. I got a last question that I want to ask you. Navigating the
Okay.
challenges and fostering the well-being. Now,
Yeah.
overcoming adversity. Many people struggle with anxiety and depression in life's transition. So, what advice do you have for our listeners who are facing these challenges, and how can they cultivate a sense of peace and resilience?
Yeah, beautiful question. Beautiful question. And going off the theme of faith-based, let go and let God.
I
Right?
love
Like
it.
truly let go and let God and know that your portion is to be fruitful in Jesus' name, right?
Right.
Like that keeps people going. It's like, you know what God said? I'm supposed to be fruitful. He said, be fruitful, right? That is my portion. And all his promises answered with yea and amen, right? So feeling that yes, you can still experience anxiety. There's depression. There's life transitions. Like there's the human experience,
Yeah.
but at the end, to bring that peace, that joy, security, let go and let God. I also do share with clients to lead with curiosity instead of worry.
I like that. That's a great way to be able to usher someone into peace.
Yeah,
Because the worry is like, and then you go through the what ifs, right? Is the what if the what if?
right.
And so now you don't have to do the what if. You say, well, the good what ifs, like, oh, well, this might be something that I want to take a deeper dive into, or maybe I want to look at it from
Exactly.
a different perspective. I love.
Exactly, exactly. Life is about perspective,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's all about perspective. So when you lead with curiosity, it gives more space to learning, to new, to things that will help take you out
Yeah.
of that depression and anxiety stuckness. And as you said, facilitate a sense of peace and resilience.
Yeah. I think that is so beautiful. And I love your word beautiful because it's real, right? It just brings
Yeah.
it to fruition. Where I think also, too, even getting outside of yourself from a perspective of taking a walk in nature, because you can
Absolutely.
connect with God there.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I have learned to do, Cassandra, over the years. As an entrepreneur, you have to have balance. And my
Yeah.
balance, what keeps me the most balance, is the walk that I get to take in the mornings. And that's where I create a space in my mind where I'm meeting with God, right? The quiet
Yeah.
space. And I love that space because that's the space where I can pour out and listen, and pray and connect. And a lot of times, I don't know if people want to take a walk in the morning because it could be cold or whatever, but bundle
Yeah.
up, you bundle up, go take a walk. You got to take a walk
Exactly.
for a whole hour, but getting out of your place of, like, even getting out of the place that you're used to being in, your office or your home, and even taking a drive across the skyline, go up to the mountains, whatever that could look like. I
Mm.
think just getting out of that norm also
Right.
gives you your perspective.
Absolutely. And yeah, tuning into what God created, right? Definitely his presence will be so ever present.
Just
Ever
creating that.
present there.
I think it really is to creating the quiet space in your mind where you meet him,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
that
Yeah.
is something that, again, developed over the course of figuring this thing out. So I'm not letting a business drive me, but to really say, you know what? I've been successful, just like you. You've been successful. There's no reason to rush around and be all, crazy in a business.
Yeah.
Just be, and let God will send you the right people that need to come to you. I'm sure you know that.
Right.
The
Right.
people that will reach out to you that need you, that need what you have to pour into them.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
believe that, like, even in my business, I call it a kingdom building business, right? Where
Oh,
you're
that's
building the
powerful.
kingdom in the process of being this entrepreneur, that you're out now, you're impacting the community and the world around you, but you're also allowing God to use you as that cold cup of water.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's powerful.
So
That's very powerful.
that's what keeps me going. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it could be about this or that, but it really is about that one thing for me. It's like, how
Yeah.
can I make it so that God can use the business as much as possible the way he needs to use it in the world?
Yes, yes. I mean, sometimes whether or not you like it or whether or not you're ready for it, if he's
Right.
ready to do something,
He was.
let go and let God.
Yeah, I know it's easier said than done, though,
Oh,
right? You say,
absolutely.
"Oh, just
Oh,
let go and let
definitely.
God." He's like, "Oh, that sounds so wonderful," but it's like,
I
okay,
know
how
it's
you do that? It's
poetic.
like, so the how you do that is why people come to you, like, "Well, how do I do that?"
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Well, come on in. The space is welcome.
Right. I love it. It's like,
You
well, get me to
know,
that point. But I love this. I love this conversation. Could you please
yes,
share
me
with the audience
too.
your information and your website if people want to go up on your website or connect with you? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. So my practice is called One Piece Therapy. So that's OnePeace and therapy THERAPY. Yes. So that will be our website link as well, onepiecetherapy.ca. On social media across all platforms, we have TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, even it's One Piece Therapy. So we try to make it easy to find and very accessible. But yes, please follow, please reach out. We are accepting new clients. I do work as a psychotherapist. However, those interested in the direct physical health, we do have a nutritionist on staff as well, and he helps people holistically all the same. Um, So please stay in touch, even if it's just content, because we do also host webinars every month. They are free, they're to the public, they're to existing clients, just so people can understand their mental health and physical health a bit better, breaking that stigma of what is this experience I'm going through, or that it has to be a crisis for me to say something about it. You
Right.
know, it just helps with educating. So we do that on a monthly basis. So yes, thank you everyone. And thank you, Edna, ultimately for welcoming me on the Woman's Heart podcast. It's
You're
a
so welcome.
beautiful
It's my
name.
pleasure. So
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure having you on the show. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're
Yeah.
busy today, to share
Yeah,
your
thank
knowledge and your
you.
wisdom and your heart with us and your faith. We love that. We love that you're sharing your faith. And I want to
Thank
say
you.
that you're truly impacting the world around you, and keep doing what you're doing and let go and let God.
Yes, there we go.
I love it.
Amen.
So I'm going to wrap it up. And if you've enjoyed our time together, remember to share, like, and comment and subscribe to this podcast. You can reach out to me on voemetoday@gmail.com. If you want to learn more about the services and resources that Voices of Encouragement offers under the coaching and consulting services, you can go up on the website under voicesoфencouragement.com, because we love to empower minds and transform lives. And as we close out today, I always say, and I'll say it again, Ephesians 4:1, walk worthy of the call for which you were called. Jump right on in. Well, thank you again, Cassandra, for hanging back for the podcast after the show of the podcast,
Absolutely.
because we have the conversation still going. How as women of color, being in a business world, the struggles that we have to navigate through just being a woman of color, and the differences in culture, and how we have to make sure that sometimes we have to code switch, and code switching can really work on your mind. Like, it can be a process. You got to code switch when you go in the office. You got to code switch when you're on a call, and then you're living two lives.
Yes,
So,
yes,
and that
yes,
can have an impact,
simultaneously.
I'm sure. And could you share with us a little bit about what you think about code switching and how it has an impact on our mental health?
Yes. I mean, as you said too, Edna, it creates a different identity, right? So that can disconnect someone from themselves, where they're just like, who is me?
Right.
Right? What am I doing this for? Like, once we start disconnecting from ourselves, we begin to doubt and question so many things that don't belong to us, because we're trying to have a sense of belonging,
Mhm.
right? Because the reality is, I mean, especially in the corporate world, you want a promotion,
Right.
right?
You're
So
trying to
unfortunately,
show up that way so you can be valued, seen, and heard. That's what we want.
exactly, exactly. But code switching makes you disconnect from yourself. So you're not even your best self
Right.
to access that promotion.
Right.
Right. Now you're just somebody else trying to navigate, okay, am I doing this right? Or what do they think of me? Like, it just really puts you in the mind of someone else, which is anxiety provoking in itself. It's
Mhm.
burnout, it's
Mhm.
stress, it's so many things that disconnect you from, okay, this is my truth,
Yeah.
right? This is what I feel comfortable in. This is what my foundation is. Um, I did a podcast during Black History Month
Mhm.
this past February,
Mhm.
and it was about, it was a guide of navigating like the corporate world for Black professionals in particular.
Mhm.
And we spoke about hair. Right. Hair is right. I love
Like,
the
it's
natural
curly
beauty.
today, but some days it might be straight, depending
Ex-
on. And when I was early in my 20s and 30s, it was always straight. I never wore my hair curly
Ah,
like this.
yes. Yes. Because even that, Edna, we spoke about the history, the
Yeah.
timeline of even how curls
Right.
have been accepted, even though that's what we were born with.
Right. Why would we have to hide it? So
Yes.
it's deep.
It's deep. It is deep. It is more than we can say today. That is for
Exactly.
sure.
In the segment that we have, but we're gonna have another show. We got
Yeah,
to.
got to. It's on our agenda. Absolutely. It's a
Yes,
part of our mission.
it is. It's part of and why we connected. It's why part of why we
Exactly.
connected. Yes.
Exactly. So it's challenging. Like I really do feel it because that's what I went through,
Mm, mm,
right? As much as I love my natural hair, I felt like I couldn't really embrace it until I started my own practice,
right, right,
right? Before then, I'm just like, is this professional?
right.
Right? Is this okay? Am I comfortable wearing my fro out, knowing
Right.
I'm about to go into an office building, have this meeting? Like it just became something that I was so heightened and aware about. Like, okay, I gotta fix
Right, right.
my hair, make sure there's a hairstyle to it and not just a fro. Right. And it's time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
It's draining to have to think about, yes, the code switching of a parent, but even in speech,
Right,
right?
right,
Sometimes you just want to say, what's going on? Like,
right,
how are
right,
you? But then you got to be like, okay, what's going on?
right.
Right?
All
How
prestigious and everything,
how
just
prestigious
don't
and
want to show up. You can't be your authentic self. Say, "Hey, girl, what's up?" You can't do that, right?
right,
I think,
right.
and I have to say that I remember having a black supervisor, female supervisor, and ended up being friends. I mean, really good friends. But we would be in a room together, and we would be talking like you and I talking, and then we knew
Yeah,
what we needed to do when we went into the larger meeting. We knew how to code
right.
switch. I mean, we went right into the mode, and we would always
Yeah.
laugh about it. It's like, we had to do what we had to do. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
completely a different
true.
person. So you're right. You're living two worlds. You're living in two worlds.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not so much about the way we speak and that kind of thing. It's just the way we're perceived. I think that's the
Mm,
challenge, the
yeah,
perception of, because the media and all of those things, you now have to make sure that you're not perceived that way. So you work even harder to be really
yes.
ultra professional, to make sure
Yeah,
that people take you seriously, that they want you,
yeah.
you want to be valued, seen, and heard. So you got to come out ultra professional.
Yes, yes. And that is a great point too, and especially as Black women as well, it's like there's that ultra, because now we're working with different identity pieces,
Yes. And don't forget the
right?
black tax. We got that on top of it too. It's like
It's,
all that.
it's all of it, Edna. It's hard. And I think just acknowledging that it's hard and it's real. I know sometimes when it's done in isolation, right? Like if you're the only Black person. So
Yeah,
now,
it can't be
like an
done in isolation yet. That'll mess with your
ultra,
mental
you gotta,
even more. It's like a psychological warfare
exactly,
going on all the time. And you're fighting off the
exactly,
doubt and the lack of confidence, and all of those things bubble up.
exactly. So knowing that it's not all in your head,
It
already helps to deal with it.
That is so
Sorry?
real. I remember too. Crazy. Same place I was working at with the black supervisor, but there was someone in diversity, equity, inclusion, and there was some struggles going on, and I went, and of course I didn't have the same supervisor at that point. My supervisor had changed. We didn't see the same, we
Mm,
weren't on the same page with my career. So we didn't always see eye to eye on what Edna was doing. So I went to talk with him,
right.
and before I could even sit down and he closed the door, he looked at me and said, "You ain't crazy."
Mm,
He knew what I was going to say. He was a black man. He knew exactly what was going to come out of my mouth. I didn't even say anything, but he knew I was coming to the diversity, equity, inclusion office to have a discussion. But he
yeah,
said that to me, and I recognized that he already knew. So it may be kind of quietly kept, but it's definitely something that's happening that every person of color is aware of.
every, unfortunately,
Yeah,
but it is true. Like, yeah, you're not crazy. Your intuition is speaking to you for a reason,
right.
right? You're having sleepless nights for a reason. You're stressing about like identity concerns for a
Yeah,
reason.
that's a real thing. But I appreciate you so much being able to kind of share with us from a perspective, a doctor's perspective of what that looks like and how that really can affect an individual doing this code switching, because
Yeah,
it does mess with your mental. and women do struggle with it. And this whole podcast that I am looking at for women of color, Black women, is to help the generation coming up behind us, the next gen. This is for them. We have lived it. We have had lived experiences, and we walked it out. So now everyone on the show is basically going to pour into the next gen. So this is for them, so we can thrive.
Oh, that's beautiful. All of you are welcome. Like this is a safe space. I'm speaking for you and us.
All of us. And they say, I'm ministering to you, I'm ministering to myself. That's what it's about.
Exactly.
So thanks again, Cassandra, for being on the show, for taking the extra time beyond the show to share some more wisdom and some experiences.
Thank you, Edna. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.